There's a moment when you're surrounded by people, but you still feel completely alone. And strangely, that's the moment you start hearing your real thoughts. Not the noise, not the pressure, not the voices telling you who to be, just you. But most people run from that moment. They're afraid of it, and that's exactly why they stay lost. Relatable opening. Let's be honest for a second. Being alone feels uncomfortable. You reach for your phone, you open apps without even thinking. You scroll and scroll and scroll. Why? Because silence feels heavy. Because when everything goes quiet, your mind starts talking, and sometimes you don't like what it says, so you stay busy. You stay around people. You say yes to things you don't even enjoy, just to avoid being alone. And slowly, without noticing, you stop being yourself. You start becoming what others expect. You laugh when they laugh. You agree even when you don't. You follow trends you don't even like. And one day, you look in the mirror and think, who am I anymore? Promise. But here's the truth. Being alone isn't a weakness. It's a power, a rare one. And once you learn how to use it, everything changes. Your mind becomes clearer, your decisions become stronger, and people start respecting you differently. Because you're no longer controlled by the crowd, you're controlled by yourself. Main content, flowing story style. There's something most people don't realize. Crowds don't think, they react. Have you ever noticed how people behave differently in groups? Alone, someone might be calm, kind, reasonable. But in a crowd, they change, they follow, they copy, they lose their own voice. And that's dangerous, because when you follow the crowd, you stop asking questions, you stop thinking for yourself, and slowly you stop growing. I remember a guy I knew back in college. He was smart, quiet, focused. He had goals, real ones, but then he started hanging out with a new group. At first it seemed harmless, just friends, just fun. But over time, as things changed, they skipped classes. They laughed at people who worked hard. They made being careless look cool. And he followed, not because he wanted to, but because he didn't want to feel left out. A year later, he wasn't the same person. His grades dropped, his confidence faded, and deep down, he knew it. But he couldn't stop. Because once you start living for the crowd, you forget how to live for yourself. And this is where things get serious. Most people think loneliness is the enemy, but it's not. The real enemy is losing yourself. Being alone gives you something the crowd never will. Clarity. When you're alone, you start noticing your real thoughts, not the ones influenced by others. Your thoughts, what you actually want, what you actually feel, what actually matters to you. And at first, it can be uncomfortable, because maybe you realize you've been living a life that isn't really yours. But that discomfort, that's where growth begins. Think about this. Every strong person you admire spent time alone, not because they had no choice, but because they chose it. They stepped away from noise, from opinions, from pressure, so they could build something real inside. Here's a simple moment. You're sitting in a room with friends. Someone makes a joke about chasing dream like it's something stupid. Everyone laughs. You feel something inside you because you actually have dreams. But what do? You laugh too. You hide it. You shrink yourself just to fit in. That's how the crowd corrupts you, not in big ways, but in small, quiet moments, over and over again. But when you're alone, No one is there to judge. No one is there to laugh. And suddenly, you can be honest. You can admit what you want. You can say, I don't want this life. And that's powerful, because honesty with yourself is the first step to change. First mini story. There was a time when I kept saying yes to everything, every invitation, every plan, every group hangout, even when I was tired, even when I didn't want to go, because I thought, if I don't show up, I'll be forgotten. But one day, I stayed home. No phone, no noise, just silence. At first, it felt strange, like something was missing. But then, something shifted. I started thinking clearly. I started asking myself real questions. What am I doing? Why am I always busy? What do I actually want? And for the first time in a long time, I felt calm. That's when I realized I wasn't afraid of being alone. I was afraid of facing myself. Retention booster. But here's the part most people miss. Being alone doesn't mean being lonely. Loneliness is when you feel empty, even with people around. But solitude, that's different. Solitude is when you choose yourself, when you protect your energy, when you stop letting random voices control your mind. Second mini story. A man once worked in a loud office. Every day, people complained about work, about life, about everything. At first, he listened. Then he joined in. Soon, he became just like them, negative, tired, stuck. But one day, he changed something small. Instead of joining them during breaks, he started walking alone. Just 20 minutes. No talking, no complaining, just walking. And slowly, his mindset changed. He stopped absorbing negativity. He started thinking clearly again. He became calmer, and within months, he made better decisions. He left that job and found something better, all because he gave himself space. And this is where things change. When you're always around people, you absorb their energy, their fears, their limits, their doubts, even if you don't realize it. But when you step away, you start hearing your own voice again. Mid-video rehook. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat alone, without distraction, and just listened to yourself? Not your phone, not music, not other people, just you. If that feels uncomfortable, that's exactly why you need it. There's another truth people avoid. The crowd rewards comfort, but growth requires discomfort. When you follow the crowd, you stay safe, you stay accepted, but you also stay the same. No risk, no change, no real progress. But when you choose to be alone sometimes, you step outside that comfort. You start thinking differently. You start doing things others aren't willing to do. And slowly, you become someone they can't understand. And sometimes, they'll even judge you for it. That's the price, but it's worth it. Third mini story. There was a girl who always followed her friends. Same clothes, same habits, same opinions. She never really chose anything for herself. One day, she decided to take a break. She stopped going out for a while. Her friends didn't understand. They said she was changing, and she was. She started reading. She started learning new things. She started building her own thoughts. Months later, she wasn't the same person. She was stronger, more confident, more herself. Some friends drifted away, but the right people came into her life because now she knew who she was, and that's the key. When you know yourself, you stop needing approval. You stop chasing validation. You stop bending just to belong. Retention booster. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Not everyone deserves access to you, your time, your energy, your mind. These things are valuable. But when you're always in the crowd, you give them away too easily to people who don't understand you, to environments that don't help you grow. Being alone teaches you boundaries. It teaches you to say, no, this doesn't align with me, and to be okay with that. At first, people might not like it. They might say, you've changed. But that's because you're no longer easy to control. And that's a good thing, because the goal isn't to be liked by everyone. The goal is to be real with yourself. Building toward end. Imagine a life where you don't feel pressure to fit in. You don't overthink every word you say. You don't need constant approval. That life starts when you stop fearing being alone. You don't have to isolate yourself completely. That's not the point. The point is balance. Choosing when to step back, choosing when to disconnect, choosing yourself on purpose. Because when you do that, you return stronger, clearer, more focused, and suddenly, the crowd doesn't control you anymore. You can be around people without losing yourself. You can listen without being influenced. You can connect without becoming someone else. That's real strength. Powerful ending. So don't be afraid of being alone. Be afraid of never knowing who you really are. Because once you find that, everything changes. Your confidence, your choices, your life. There's a quiet power in solitude, a deep kind of strength, the kind that doesn't need attention, the kind that doesn't need approval, the kind that simply knows, I'm enough. And when you reach that point, you don't chase the crowd anymore. The crowd starts noticing you. Soft CTA. If this spoke to you, if you felt something while listening, then maybe it's time to spend a little more time with yourself. And if you want more videos like this, you can subscribe. No pressure. Just come back when you need it.